The sterile white walls hummed with an energy David couldn't identify. His head throbbed as consciousness clawed its way back, dragging him from the void of unconsciousness into a reality far stranger than any nightmare. He blinked hard, trying to focus, but the ceiling above him rippled with bioluminescent patterns that hurt to look at directly. Where am I? The last thing David remembered was the colony ship Prometheus shuddering violently as something massive had torn through its hull. Alarms, screaming, the sudden rush of vacuum before the emergency bulkhead sealed. Then nothing. He tried to sit up, but his body felt leaden, unresponsive. Panic flared in his chest as he realized he was restrained, not with crude metal shackles, but with some kind of energy field that pressed against his wrists and ankles like invisible hands. The air smelled wrong too, sharp and ozone-tinged, with an underlying sweetness that made his sinuses burn. "You're awake." The voice came from somewhere to his right, melodic, but with an otherworldly resonance that made his bones vibrate. David's head snapped toward the sound, and his breath caught. She stood in the doorway, if it could be called a doorway. The entrance seemed to fold space itself, creating an impossible geometry that hurt to perceive. But the figure stepping through was even more impossible. She was tall, easily 7 feet, with skin that shimmered like mother-of-pearl under the ship's strange lighting. Her eyes were too large, almond-shaped, and entirely silver, reflecting light like liquid mercury. 4 arms moved with fluid grace, each one adorned with intricate bioluminescent markings that pulsed in time with her breathing. Her head was crowned with what looked like crystalline antennae that swept back from her forehead, refracting light into prismatic rainbows. She wore armor that seemed grown rather than forged, organic plates of iridescent chitin that covered her torso and legs, leaving her 4 arms bare to display the glowing patterns beneath her skin. What are you?" David managed, his voice hoarse. The alien woman tilted her head, a gesture so human it was unsettling coming from something so decidedly not. "I am Anna," she said, as if that explained everything. "Queen Commander of the 7th Armada, and you, human, are quite the curiosity." "Let me go." David pulled against the restraints, but they didn't budge. "Whatever you're planning." "Planning?" Anna's laugh was like wind chimes in a hurricane. She moved closer, and David could see that her skin wasn't solid at all. Beneath the surface, currents of light flowed like bioluminescent blood through translucent flesh. "You misunderstand your situation entirely, David of Earth." The fact that she knew his name made his blood run cold. Anna circled the medical platform he was strapped to, studying him with those unsettling silver eyes. "Your species fascinates me," she continued. "So fragile, so short-lived, and yet—" One of her hands reached out and David flinched, but she merely traced a finger through the air above his chest, never quite touching. Such potential, such ferocity packed into these weak vessels. "We're not weak," David snapped, finding courage in anger. "We survived the climate wars, the plague years. We built ships that can cross the stars." "Yes," Anna interrupted, her eyes brightening with something that might have been excitement. "Exactly. Your people should have died 1,000 times over. Your world tried to kill you. Disease tried to kill you. You tried to kill each other. And yet here you are, reaching out into the void with your primitive fusion drives and your audacious hope." She leaned closer, and David could smell something like cinnamon and ozone. "Do you know what we call species like yours in the galactic concordance? Keshari. It means the stubborn flame, something that refuses to be extinguished no matter how hard the universe blows." "If you're trying to scare me." "Scare you?" Anna's expression shifted, what passed for a smile among her kind, though her face had no mouth, just a slight ripple across the lower half of her features where one should be. When she spoke, the sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "Human, I'm trying to honor you." The restraints released without warning, and David sat up quickly, rubbing his wrists. He was in some kind of medical bay, or at least, that's what he assumed from the equipment surrounding him. though nothing looked like any technology he recognized. Screens displayed scrolling data in symbols that hurt to look at directly. Strange instruments hummed and pulsed with their own organic rhythms. "Your ship attacked us," David said, trying to piece together what had happened. "The Prometheus was trespassing in contested space," Anna finished. "My scouts intercepted you before the Crythian swarm could." She moved to one of the screens, and two of her hands manipulated controls while the other two gestured expressively. "The Crythians don't take prisoners, human. They consume. They assimilate. Your entire colony ship would have been digested within hours, every person aboard processed into organic slurry to fuel their war machine." An image appeared on the screen, something that made David's stomach turn. Massive, insectoid creatures with too many limbs and mandibles that looked like they could shear through steel. Thousands of them, swarming over what looked like the wreckage of a ship. "We saved you," Anna said simply. "All 347 survivors from the Prometheus. They're in stasis in the lower decks, unharmed." "Then why am I awake? Why am I here?" Anna turned to face him fully, and for the first time, David saw something in those alien eyes that he recognized. Curiosity, yes, but also something deeper. Something almost like longing. "Because when I reviewed the combat footage, I saw what you did." Anna manipulated the controls again, and a new image appeared. David watched himself, saw the moment when the hull breach had threatened to suck out the children in Cryobay 7. He'd used an emergency tether to anchor himself, and physically held the bulkhead door closed while the automatic systems rebooted. 30 seconds that felt like 30 years, his muscles screaming, blood vessels bursting in his eyes from the pressure. He'd saved 42 children. "You should have died," Anna said softly. "The structural stress alone should have torn your arms from their sockets. The cold should have flash frozen your lungs, but you held on anyway." She took a step closer. "That's what makes your species special, David. Not your technology, not your intelligence, your refusal to accept defeat." "I don't understand," David said. "What do you want from me?" Anna was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried a weight he hadn't heard before, something ancient and tired. "I've been at war for 300 of your years," she said. "I've commanded fleets that numbered in the thousands. I've won battles that reshaped star systems, and I'm so very tired of it." She held out one of her hands to him, a gesture of offering. "Among my people, when a warrior finds another whose spirit calls to theirs, they may claim them as Keshari bond, a companion in fire, one who shares their struggle, their purpose." David stared at the offered hand. "You're asking me to, what, join you, fight in your war?" "I'm asking you to teach me," Anna corrected. "Teach me what it means to fight like a human fights, not just with weapons but with that impossible hope that lets you hold doors closed against the void. In exchange, I'll teach you what it means to wage war on a galactic scale, to see wonders and horrors beyond your imagination. And my people, the survivors, will be delivered safely to the nearest human colony," Anna promised. "With full reparations and my formal apology to your government. That was never in question." David stood, his legs unsteady but holding. He was still wearing the torn remains of his pressure suit, still covered in the dried blood and frost from his desperate fight to save those children. He looked at Anna, truly looked at her, and saw not a monster or a captor, but a warrior who'd been fighting alone for far too long. "You said you claimed me as your own," David said slowly. "That's not how humans do things. We choose. We're partners, not property." Something shifted in Anna's expression, surprise perhaps or respect. "Then choose, David of Earth. Walk away and you'll wake in a medical bay with your people, with no memory of this conversation. Stay and become something new, the first human to sail among the stars not as a colonist or explorer but as a warrior." David thought of the children's faces in cryosleep, thought of the Prometheus and its desperate mission to find humanity a new home among the stars, thought of the Crithian swarm and the countless other horrors that waited in the dark between worlds. Humanity needed more than colonies. It needed allies. It needed warriors who understood that the universe was far more dangerous than they'd ever imagined. He reached out and took Anna's hand. Her skin was warm, surprisingly so, and he felt the pulse of those luminescent patterns beneath his palm like a second heartbeat. "I choose to stay," David said, "but as your equal, your partner, not as property. Can you accept that?" Anna's smile was like sunrise on an alien world, beautiful and slightly terrifying. Her other 3 hands came up, each one finding purchase on his shoulders and arms, not restraining but steadying, supporting. "Then you are Keshari Bond," Anna said, and her voice resonated through the ship itself, like a declaration made to the universe. "My equal in fire, and together we will show the galaxy what happens when human stubbornness meets Validian fury." As the ship's engines hummed to life and reality folded around them, preparing for a jump to destinations unknown, David felt something he hadn't experienced since the Prometheus had left Earth: purpose. Not the desperate scramble for survival that had defined humanity's exodus to the stars, but something purer. He'd woken on an alien warship thinking he was a captive. But as the stars began to blur through the viewport and Anna's hand tightened on his in what might have been solidarity or might have been something more, David realized the truth. He hadn't been captured, he'd been recognized. And for better or worse, his war, humanity's war, had truly begun.